Welcome to r/Malicious Compliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter but not the spirit of request. And today's first story is, so we aren't doing our jobs right, are we? Very well, we'll follow your instructions to the letter. For some context, this happened back in December 2013. Hit 18, wanted to get a job, earn enough cash to pay my way through college, that kind of thing. My first job was as an azafata, an assistant basically that can do any number of random things. In this case, I helped run a Coca-Cola stand and a game platform within a children's fair. It would last only for about a week, and the pay was decent enough for a brat trying to earn something for themselves, which was my case, even if the hours were pretty inconvenient. So there we were, 4 teens, 5 stands, and about 30 interchangeable kids per stand at any given time. The others were old hand at this. All of them had worked there at least once, and one of them even more. We declared her team leader on the spot. And then, of course, there was our manager. Let's call her Lazy B, or LB, I suppose, filing her nails and checking her phone, while we all tried to organize ourselves, keep control of 2 stands at once, make sure the children were engaged and nothing of our assigned stand got lost or broken, try to pacify parents, convince kids that it was the next kid's turn, endure tantrums, keep track of children too young to be by themselves, being by themselves, and then running to security to alert them when, inevitably, the kids confessed they'd gotten lost, while praying nothing went to SH in the meantime. I, being the noob, and pretty fast when inspired, was delegated to this role shortly, and without fanfare. TL ran a tight ship. After the end of that first shift, which was a half day, LB was supposed to address any concerns we had. It was pretty stressful work, and TL told us it wasn't the first time someone just up and left mid-shift, and wasn't surprised they sent someone to keep an eye on things. LB up and left 2 hours before closing. We were baffled. She didn't look at us once, didn't even talk to us. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. Nada. And we had concerns. Oh, did we have concerns. We needed at least 2 people to control one of the games. 2 other games required us to run around behind plastic balls or crouching down to pick up bottle caps nearly every other second. Lest a random unsupervised 3-year-old went and swallowed one. And believe me, there were legion. Besides which, we needed an additional half an hour at the beginning and end of our shifts to set everything up and do cleanup. So at the end of the day, TL took out her phone and exasperatedly asked us to tell her our concerns, and she'd relay them to the LB. Her tone wasn't promising though. Then, things got weird. Me, why don't you email this to the person who employed us? TL, what do you mean HW? I'm sending this to LB, aren't I? Me, but if LB wanted to listen to our concerns, she would have stayed, wouldn't she? If she won't, it's only right to relay them directly to her superiors. She would have had to report to them anyway, right? An insert name of employer wants to know if there was any problem. At this point, TL got a glint in her eye. I was pretty confused about this. In my mind, my solution was the reasonable next step. D, was I a naive, devious creature? Mind, I didn't realize the petty revenge brewing, or the malicious compliance to follow. I really was that oblivious. Still am sometimes. TL nodded thoughtfully, recorded us all, and promised to make a report and send it to LB, her direct superior and our employer. LB was there the next day, bright and early and fuming. TL, you received my mail then? LB, what is the meaning of this? TL, our concerns. You were supposed to ask us yesterday and deal with them today, but we understand you must have quite a busy schedule, so we compiled it ourselves. At this point, LB was turning a very intriguing shade of red. I remember wondering if she'd caught a cold or something. Sweet summer child. So sweet, so naive. From here on out, it's malicious compliance by all parts. There are no innocents beyond this point. LB, I see. Then let's address them, shall we? We don't have the money to get more people, so you'll have to figure something out on your own. I'm sure you'll come up with something. In regards to the stress, I said 1 person per game. Choose one and stick with it. Your responsibility is with the company. Lost children are not our concern. If parents get difficult, ask them to leave the premises. And on she went. Basically, she not only refused to address any of our concerns, dismissed them out of hand, and called us both incompetent and spoiled. She condescended us, told us we weren't doing our jobs right, and she hinted that we would get half pay. Look, I was a pretty sweet kid. A little naive, plenty kind, shy, quiet. No one had dared condescend me since I made my Christian education teacher cry when I was 7. I might have implied that Adam and Eve were incestuous, as was more than half the monarchy in Europe, and didn't understand where the church got the idea that it was a sin to F your sister, when they happily put crowns on men who F their nieces. I like documentaries. So we weren't doing our jobs right, were we? Okay. TL and I shared this look. So we closed down the most troublesome and popular game, because we're short on staff, we're terribly sorry. Put a barricade at the door and limited entry to about 30 people at a time, parents included. closed the second most troublesome and popular game booth, mine, incidentally, in the 3 last hours of our shift, so we could take short breaks to de-stress. We called loudly at the security guards when a lost kid wandered our way. To their bewilderment, it's the company policy apparently. Can't leave the booth to help lost kids. We got a talking to this morning, you see. We smiled at ranting parents until they lost steam and started babbling awkwardly, looking a little creeped out. LB laid down the law, did she? Well, we were effing embracing the effing law and made it our B. On that note, that day we made about half of what we did on the half shift. On half shift, we worked 4 hours. That day, we stayed from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., plus an additional hour for opening and closing. And most of what we earned were tips from the parents. TL kept note of it all with the precision and dedication I thought only surgeons and homicide detectives possessed. Apparently, road engineers do too. So you can imagine LB's face when she came in the next day, because she decided to be more proactive. Apparently, her malicious compliance, one of our concerns was that she wasn't truly present to attend to any sudden or unexpected incidents that we didn't know how to deal with, like accidents for example, and looked at our earnings. She accused us of taking the money for ourselves. TL gave her the impeccable record that she amiably reminded the woman she had sent our employer and her superior already of our earnings the day before. Reminded the LB of our suggestions, was shot down, we were reamed again, she repeated the same spiel. We grimly followed the rules even more aggressively than before. TL kept a log, brought a sheet and asked the parents to sign if they'd please because corporate is doing a survey, you see. And when they didn't, she asked their kids, which were always happy to have a bic in hand, to get to some mischief. Not to worry, TL had at least 200 of them in her bag. I figured we'd pass the event horizon about then, but I didn't even care anymore. Instead of smiling at ranting parents until they ran away uncomfortably and disquieted, I was good at this one. We called security instead. Corporate policy, harassment of the employees will result in the guilty party being escorted from the premises, and got them escorted out of the fair entirely. The most popular game remained closed. The other games closed for about 2 hours each irregularly while we took our lunch and bathroom breaks. It was anarchy at this point, and TL was unstoppable. Every day when she got home from work, she sent our list of complaints, with an added bonus for each day that passed, to our superiors, LB included, plus ourselves just in case. She got in contact with the union to make inquiries, asked a lawyer friend to help her look at our contract, endured LB's rants each morning and kept us informed, and working as a well-oiled machine despite the chaos. It was awe-inspiring. I wanted to be her when I grew up. On the final day, things had calmed down considerably. LB didn't show up, which at this point was pretty suspicious in hindsight, but we didn't care. It had been a tiring week, and the calm was relaxing. In the morning, we only had to deal with a tourist group, no more than 50 total. None of them had spoke our language to save their lives, but I was pretty fluent, even if my pronunciation was pretty awful. So we got them more than once, and probably broke even from LB's SH managing skills cash-wise, thanks to them alone. TL noted it all down religiously, and I played tour guide with her blessing, kept an eye on their kids when they ran around, and translated for everyone. Then I saw LB walking to our booth. I'd already explained to a couple of the parents about LB and our circumstances, mostly to translate another Azafata's gossip. So when they saw her, and I confirmed her as LB, they told me to go back, and they'd come to say goodbye later. They were really lovely people. So I reached my booth shortly before LB. And then there was silence. Literally everyone in the game platform was looking at us, like I guess people look at a train wreck. And then LB smiled and told us in tones of rejoicing and celebration that she was ready to address our concerns. That, well, I knew TL was angry. I knew A&L were angry. I myself was pretty confused because, hello? Look around you. There's about 20 kids total today, and not even in one of our booths, at once, which was our actual most pressing concern. I may have said that out loud. LB looked stunned and indignant. TL looked delighted and stunned too. Everyone looked pretty effing stunned, yes? Yes. And then in the middle of that stalemate, the handful of pretty tourist mothers sashayed in. There's no other word for it. Bypassed the ticket box, kissed me on the cheek and put a 50 in each of our tip jars, before sashaying right the F out. LB, what the ever-loving F? I felt dirty for sharing her WTF moment. I'm mature enough to admit it, probably. She got back her bearings pretty quick though, and began ranting. I didn't pay quite as much attention as I maybe should have, but in my defense, the guy from the racing game booth beside ours was kind and sweet, and had given us free merchandise on the sly when they got it, and he was curious about what was going on, and who the crazy lady, LB, was. Then LB said that any earnings on our tip jars would go to the company, since they had been earned in their property, and we were their employees, and we should be grateful we wouldn't get half pay, and I got the heck back into the conversation because what the F? That's about when TL lost her SH, in that quiet way that makes people with vengeful siblings get the heck out of Dodge before SH hits the fan. I don't have siblings, but I have more than 20 cousins. When I noticed that TL didn't immediately come up with a sassy rebuttal, I made my excuses, grabbed A&L, and got the heck out of there. TL told us later that she had memorized the company manual, out of sheer spite, her words, and told LB in perfect detail what would happen if she or the company touched our spoils. In very polite, very small words, just in case. She then asked us if we'd be willing to go to court over this, because her lawyer friend told her we had a case, if we wanted. TL told me I didn't have to if I didn't want to. This was my first job after all, and no one should make me feel pressured. If it made me, or anyone else, the slightest bit uncomfortable, she could carry on alone. A protested, of course. She was all for it. L was on the fence though, but me, well, it went like this more or less. Me, if you need my help, I'll help. TL, are you sure, HW? Me, sure, I won't be coming back next year anyway, and I don't want anyone they hire to be treated like we were. That was my sticking point, believe it or not. I'd never worked before, but I'd suffered secondhand the results of a toxic working environment, and I didn't want that for anyone, even now. Long story short, we won, got our sizable paycheck plus 10 times for that, laboral harassment charges? I'm not sure if that's how you say it in English, sorry. But yeah, in the end I earned in a week what I'd need to pay for a year of college tuition. Thanks for being a bee, Mrs. Manager. The next story is, bad orders are still orders. Bad orders that don't get you or others killed or in trouble are ripe for malicious compliance. During basic training for the Air Force, we had a temporary assistant TI. Never call them the junior TI. We were going somewhere one day and we had just started marching out of our squadron. We came up on the exit, and instead of ordering us to turn left, he called out column right. So we turned right, which had us marching directly into a wall, where we stacked up like old comedy movie, marching in place. The TI screamed at us, "What are you doing?" pointing at a random member of the flight. "Name, why did you do this?" "Sir, you called column right, sir." "No, I didn't." And continued to yell at us. At no point did he tell us to stop, break formation and reform, pointing the way we had been going. So there we are marching in place, getting yelled at. Finally, a senior TI from another flight comes up, tells our TI to stop yelling, takes command of us. Halt, break, reform over there, and wait. He and the assistant TI walk away. That was the last we saw of that TI. Eventually another TI came up to us, asked where we were going and took command and got us there. Over dinner we found out there are 2 other flights behind us, several TIs in the squadron senior NCO. The reason we were left for 5 minutes getting yelled at was because the TIs were all laughing too hard to properly fix the situation. The only reference our senior TI made to the event was to point to one of the members of the flight. If I ever give a boneheaded marching command, you have permission to speak up with a big loud "Sir?" "Sir, yes, sir." I hope you liked the video. Have a good day.